You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough.
Hey guys, welcome back to Need to Know Pod. I'm your host, Chef Sahera, and today I want to tackle a topic that feels more relevant than ever. Today I want to talk about stress, and more specifically, election season stress, right? You know, this election season has caused some emotional stress for some people, and I want to show you what you can do to manage it and the surprising benefits of baking therapy. Whether you're overwhelmed by the news, frustrated by social tensions, or just feeling anxious about what's next, just know that you are not alone. You are definitely not alone. So let's get into it. By the time you hear this podcast, we're just maybe a month and a half away from things being different. You might find yourself worrying about how the new administration's policies will affect your life, your family, your community. And that is something that can cause a lot of angst. I know that for sure. I am very concerned. I am very concerned as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, as just a human being, right? A lot of programming that I listen to, you know, I hear a lot of people explain how they've been so stressed out, especially after just days after, or even a week or so after the election. So, what can you do? As a pastry chef, I just want to share with you how baking can be maybe a source for you to alleviate some of that stress. Baking therapy refers to the act of using baking to reduce stress and promote your overall well being. Baking can have the tremendous ability to focus the mind, distract from negative thoughts and feelings, and improve your mood. In the world we live in today, of course, you know, we are bombarded with information all day, every day, 24/7, whether it's social media, whether it's TV, conversations at work, with your family, with your friends. And I am actually completely burned out. Even if you try to take a break from all of that, you know, there's still some tension that follows you. So even if you're just stressed about, if it's not the election, just something else, you know, the stress can take a toll on your body, right? Stress can take a toll on your body. So, like, the anxiety and worry can lead to physical symptoms like headaches, fatigue, or even racing heart. So, I have a friend, she actually is, Dr. Wendy, is actually the stress solution strategist. And she has told me that those stresses, when there's things that we can't control, are external stresses. So that I know for sure. We can't control it, but maybe we can control the way we react to it. Let's get into how baking can be the perfect therapy. So, for one, I like to bake, even though I've been baking for so long. I like to bake when I want to bake, not because I have to bake, if that makes sense. Now I'm at a place where I bake because I want to, not because I have to. So I don't want to take orders, because now that can be stressful, especially if you have like a time constraint or something like that. But I love baking when I'm in my zone. So unlike cooking, where you don't have to measure things out for the most part, I know when I cook, I just add a little of this and a little bit of that. But when it comes to baking, I have to be more intentional. There's something about measuring an ingredient, kneading the dough, and waiting for your baked goods, your sweets to be done, to be complete, right? So it's something about putting all that stuff together, taking the time, and it's like meditation in action. For starters, baking allows you to be more mindful. Baking forces you to focus on the task at hand. If you are all over the place, you're bound to miss an ingredient. And I can tell you firsthand, there's times that I might have had a lot on my mind, and I will mess up a recipe that I know by heart. Certain things that I make all the time, you know, I can catch the mistake, but that it immediately lets me know that I'm not concentrating. When it comes to baking, you need to be focused. So like I said, baking forces you to focus on the task at hand. You're measuring, you're mixing, you're following the steps, you're making sure you have all the right ingredients, you're making sure you're picking baking soda and not baking powder, or vice versa. Over the holiday, I made some dinner rolls, and my recipe calls for bread flour. And just trying to get everything together, and I'm moving fast, trying to make sure everything is done. I picked up all purpose flour. Meanwhile, the bread flour was on the counter, right? So I knew that's a sign for myself that slow down. At this stage, I feel like I know when I'm off or when I need a moment, right? Sometimes you just have to take a moment for yourself to say relax. And me using all-purpose flour instead of bread flour was my sign to take a break, relax. So baking can also evoke your senses, right? Baking is an activity that will put all your senses into action. If you've ever seen any of my videos, a lot of times you'll hear me say, I want to feel the dough, right? I need to feel it. Sometimes I could smell things, if during the season I was baking a lot of pies, so you can smell it in the air, right? So it creates that sense of smell, the sense of touch, and just seeing. Sometimes I can look at a batter and know that either I messed up or it looks good, but just all of your senses are being used. These baking activities engage your senses and provide you with an opportunity to breathe deeply and get lost in a moment. So, just everything about baking. I do know one thing that I like to do is bake decorative cookies. Bake, not just bake, but decorate the cookies, sugar cookies more specifically. And there's a lot that goes into it. Baking a cookie is the easiest thing. I have to get the icing together. I have to color the icing. I do remember when I would take orders to do decorative cookies. First off, decorative cookies take a lot of time. It's not just that you cut out I don't know, let's see, what cookie cutter could we use? Well, it's the holiday, so let's say you cut out a Christmas tree. It's not just that you cut out a Christmas tree. Now we want to color the icing, like I said, and maybe you want to make it more decorative. Maybe you want to put some extra color in it. Then you have to let it sit. Then you have to let it dry. So it's not just I made a cookie. Here's a Christmas cookie. So when I do more detailed designs that take more than one color or just outline a cookie, it just takes time. So that's the one thing I find that relaxes me. I could do that without having people listening to people, even though I'm focusing, but I'm concentrating on what I'm doing with that cookie. I can watch TV, I sit down and relax, and I'm in the zone when I'm decorating cookies. So, just talking about the cookies, baking can be a creative outlet for some, from decorating cookies to experimenting with new recipes. I know that my creative outlet comes when I'm doing maybe occasion cakes. But like I said, I also like to do the decorative cookies. When I do large cakes that need like fondant and I have to decorate and make flowers or some kind of, when you do occasion cakes, wedding cakes, baby shower cakes, and you're doing these elaborate designs, it makes you focus. It definitely makes you focus. You have to really focus on one thing at a time. You can't do two decorations. If you're making flowers, let's get these flowers started. Flowers you actually have to build. Some of the flowers you build in stages, or whatever it is. Some of the designs have to dry, so it's not just one, two, three. Yeah, for one, that's why people charge so much for wedding cakes. It takes a lot of time, but it allows you to be creative. It allows you to be creative. Anytime people ask me to make a cake, I like to see a picture on some kind of inspired picture. What kind of cake are you looking for? So when I look at the picture, I break it down like, okay, they use this or I need to do this. So I start looking at it not just as a beautiful cake, but all the things that are required. But it actually allows you to be in the zone. If I have to make a cake, I'm zoned out. I didn't realize that baking could be soothing until I started doing it and didn't realize. So as I started teaching these classes and having baking master classes, I realized so many people are responding that bacon helped them alleviate stress. And I think during the pandemic, this really was big. A lot of people took on baking as a hobby and they really enjoyed the results, right? So if you've never baked before and you're following this recipe and at the end of the day you get this great taste and product, why wouldn't you do it again? Baking can also just allow you to have control, right? Allows you to control things that you can't control, right? We don't have any control over this election season, but what you can control is how you focus on things, right? You can't control the ingredients. The things that you can control is what you want to do, what you want to practice on making. And I would suggest that if you are new to baking, I've said it, I always say it, but I always introduce people to muffins. Muffins are easy. And if you take the time to make a muffin and you see how not only how easy it is, but how good it can taste, you will find yourself definitely making muffin or trying something different. Maybe today is muffin, tomorrow maybe cookies. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, I had someone call and ask me about dinner rolls, a friend of mine. And it's so interesting. People really do enjoy baking. It definitely allows you to be mindful, right? It definitely allows you to be mindful because you have to focus. As I'm giving this person directions and telling them do this, you can't be talking to other people, right? I need you to focus. Actually, a friend of mine, I was showing her how to make muffins in person, and then she had a friend come over and they're talking. And, this is why, right? One thing, this is one reason you need to focus because you can make mistakes. And because I wasn't focused, it was muffins and I needed to add baking powder. And I think I added baking powder and baking soda. And I could make these muffins, with my eyes closed. But because I wasn't focused, I made a very careless mistake. And that was a batch of muffins in the garbage. So, also when it comes to baking, especially this time of the year, the aromas are soothing, right? So imagine the smell of just the cinnamon and, the cinnamon. You could smell bread baking. I love the smell of fresh bread. You can smell the cinnamon in your pies. This is holiday season, so you can smell the cinnamon in your pies. You can smell you can tell when something is baking, right? Hell, I love the smell of coffee. I love the smell of coffee. So it definitely evokes that sense, also the sense of smell. So, but also the sense of gratitude. I shared in a previous podcast how just the gift of giving, bacon allows you to give and you feel gratified when you're doing something good. And actually, when people taste my baked goods, I get a sense of just pride in knowing I like to see people enjoy food. So that makes me feel good. That's the one thing I offer people. What do you want to eat? Or, it's either food or coffee. So that's always my go to. But I would definitely suggest that taking time to learn how to bake a bread. I've had some bakers tell me that they bake because it brought back memories if they had like a loved one that they lost. One lady had, I believe this lady was in an accident. I don't want to say car accident, but I knew she had some kind of injury to her hand. And by kneading dough, that was a way for her to strengthen her hand. So she was making a lot of breads and stuff. But I've had a lot of people tell me they bake because either they were depressed, like I said, some had lost a loved one. Some people it just allowed them to for them to keep memories of their family alive. So they would bake, and it definitely is a thing. It definitely is a thing. When I went to culinary school, I didn't have a love for baking because I didn't understand it. But there are some people who really love to bake. It seems like there can always be a season for baking, but now is definitely the season where I have been baking a lot. I also do, cooking videos and baking videos. So I just have a love for the culinary arts. I do enjoy baking, but I also like eating too. So, right, the satisfaction. But again, back to the gratitude. Baking can be a form of you can use that to make yourself feel good inside sometimes, or make someone else feel good inside, right? So even think about making something to give to somebody else when people are sick, or I've mentioned before, I bring cakes to, what do you call it, repast if someone has passed. How can I help? What can I bring? And somebody is always asking, oh, can you make this cake for me? Or I'll offer it. So if you're curious about using bacon as therapy, here are a few tips to get you started. One, start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with complex recipes. Do something basic. Like I said, start with a muffin or even cookies, right? Even cookies. Start with something small. Like I said, with like a muffin or cookies are very easy, actually. The one thing I found that a lot of bakers would ask with no experience, I want to learn how to decorate cakes. So cake decorating is a totally different skill set. And if you like to decorate, I find a lot of great cake decorators are artistic. I'm not as artistic. I just know I focus more on the taste of things. And while some people focus more on the aesthetic appeal of it all. In a perfect world, you would have both. But so yeah, I would just say start small. Also, you want to focus on a process. So don't worry about it being perfect. Just focus on a process. Worry about measuring. Focus on the measuring and the mixing, and you will spend time on the cleanup as well. So, just focus on what you can focus on the process. And before you know it, especially if it's the getting your ingredients together and making it, mixing it all together and baking it, by the time you clean up, you won't even know that you were stressed. You'll realize that, oh, I didn't even think about the stuff I had been thinking about. Sometimes it's just good to clear your mind. One thing I've done was I no longer watch mainstream media. That's number one. I don't watch mainstream media. Also, I was just taking a break and watching things that allowed me not to think, right? How crazy does that sound? So I was just catching up on some TV shows and I felt good about that. I felt good about that. I still know what's going on in the world, but I needed something to allow me to. That was my distressor. That's what I used to alleviate stress. That calmed the anxiety down. So if it's bacon for you, and if you don't want to use bacon, find something that allows you that will bring you joy. But sometimes people eat when they when they are stressed. I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting finding something else. If it's not bacon, find something that allows you, that brings you joy. Find something, like I said, I there's so much on TV. I was watching old stuff. I was watching stuff on TV that came out like in the 90s. What came on recently? Beverly Hills Cop. I saw it like on like a regular local station, and I just went and watched like every Beverly Hills Cop. And it was still good. Beverly Hills Cop is a good movie. So just saying. Also, like I said, you can bake for others. So as you practice baking, for me, I give the stuff away that I make, especially if I'm making a video. I can't have all that those sweets in the house, but I'll give it away, right? First of all, I love the feedback, so that makes me feel good. So I like knowing that somebody's enjoying my stuff. So take some, drop it off to somebody, or even maybe if there's like a hospital or a shelter or something that you can give it to, but see what you can do to alleviate stress. Also, what you could do is also take time if you want to practice. Also, pick a time during the week, maybe like a Sunday. As my kids were small, I used to try to have something baked for them on the weekends. So take a time to just practice, maybe Sunday mornings or Friday nights. Make it time for you. All right, make it time. You may have to cut your phone off so you can focus. Right, you can go to YouTube and just type in anything and you'll find a video that will show you. But if it's baking that you enjoy, make sure you get the recipe. Make sure you follow, right? So this is back to the mindfulness where you are forced to focus. Baking will have you focus. I can cook and be on the phone at the same time. I don't necessarily like to bake. I won't be on the phone because I need to follow my ingredients and I don't want to take the time to mess something up and waste the ingredients. So it definitely requires you to be mindful in the moment. So some things also you can do for like therapeutic techniques, maybe just try making a bread or something that requires you to knead dough. Make a pie, or some bread or pizza dough. If you enjoy like the hands-on activities, pick a recipe that really allows you to focus. If you go and look up decorated sugar cookies or decorative sugar cookies, that takes time. And I find that if I had a large order, I would just be sitting at my counter for really like a few hours just decorating cookies and not realizing how much time has passed. So if that is something you're into, but just that is something I would definitely recommend. I know that works for me. And I really, really enjoy. As much as I bake and all the things that I know how to bake, I really find that baking those cookies is a soothing activity for me. When I say take a day to carve out for yourself. That could be your self care day. Definitely take time for yourself, right? Take time to learn how to make that cake. Take time to get your ingredients together. Or if your self care day could be inviting friends over so you could bake together. I know a lot of people who can cook. I don't know as many people who can bake. My girlfriend was just she cooked all this food for Thanksgiving, and she turned around and said, "I had to throw the cake out because I messed something up." Right? Like things are too expensive now to be throwing them out, right? So I don't know what she did. She didn't ask me. Her pound cake recipe is different from mine. So she didn't ask for my advice, but I can't even imagine what she did to have to throw the cake out. I know for me, what goes well with baking is music. Baking and music is a way for me to really just kind of relax. Create a playlist. That's one thing I would do. When I have functions coming up, or if my husband and I take a road trip, before we get on that road, the our thing is music. What kind of music do you have? So that's important. So take time to make a playlist. So if you have a story on how bacon has helped you cope with stress or alleviate stress, I would love to hear from you. So you can send that to needtoknowpod@gmail.com. I hope you are able to find some kind of peace if you are indeed struggling or feeling a little stressed out or overwhelmed because of all that is going on in the world. And it's a lot. So, just take a little time for yourself to engage in some bake therapy. Isn't it funny that stress spelled backwards gives us desserts? That is so weird to me, but it is so true. It's as if the world is telling us that when life is feeling overwhelming, the answer just might be in a piece of cake, right? If you are new to baking and you want to learn you want to check out some recipes, check out my YouTube channel, Chef Sahera Speaks, and you can check out some of the baking videos that I have. So, like I said, muffins are easy. So I do have some muffin videos up there. So again, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Need to Know Pod. Be sure to follow us so you never miss another episode. Be sure to share this podcast and give us a review. We would love to hear from you and let us know. Or what are some topics that you would like me to discuss? Also, if you are an entrepreneur in the culinary space and you have a story to share, I would love to hear from you. Whether you run a bakery, a catering business, or just some kind of food venture, I would love to feature you on Need to Know Pod so you can share your journey, your challenges, and triumphs in the culinary world with our listeners. So if you're interested, send us an email at needtoknowpod@gmail.com with a brief introduction about yourself and your business. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. So until then, guys, thanks for listening, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.
You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you.